So we know like you've been out protesting for every single day consecutively for almost 50 days, right? Out at Centennial. So tell us about how it was like just being out there, the whole movement, Black Lives Matter movement, and like your experience just being out there every single day fighting the good fight, you know, trying to make a change.
It was a powerful experience, to say the least. Like you said, you know, our group was out there for 50 days straight in the same spot. Some of y'all have been out there, but every day fighting for Black Lives Matter and fighting for justice, fighting for equality, equity, and liberty, you know, because right now we know that Black and brown communities don't have that. And specifically, you know, we went out there on the heels of so many shootings of unarmed Black men and women, you know, from Ahmaud Arbery to Breonna Taylor to George Floyd, and then of course countless injustices around those three. You know, it's so much happening. Like even being out in the streets, you learn about cases that have happened in Georgia. More than 40 open cases are sitting on the district attorney's desk in Fulton County right now. There's so many cases that still need to be, you know, that need attention. There's one case, Jamarion Robinson, whose mother we're very close to. We met her protesting. Her son had 76 bullet wounds. 76 bullet wounds. And that happened right here in Atlanta. And that happened 4 years ago, and his mom is still fighting for justice, and she refuses to give up. Stuff like that happening in our city, you learn it's not a national problem, it's a local problem right here. It's a local problem, it's a national problem, it's a global problem. We know that injustices are happening everywhere. So being out there, you learn so much, you meet so many people. You know, every day you're learning about a new bill that you need to call your local representative about, or you're learning about a new policy that they're trying to push behind our backs without even letting us know. So it's a huge learning experience. Also, we are engaged with one another. We're able to strategize. We're able to come up with, you know, plans and strategy to fight. Like, for example, being out there, we were able to organize a protest at the Congress, you know, at the Gold Dome, because we were like, you know what, they plan to vote on this bill today. At least let them hear us. Let them know that we're watching y'all. We know that y'all not just going to keep passing bills behind our backs thinking that we don't know what's going on. We know what's going on. We see what y'all are doing, and that's why we need to vote some of them out. So it's like so there's that aspect of it. Then there's just this feeling of feeling liberated. Like, you know, when you're out there with so many people who are passionate about fighting for, you know, for a better country, you're all in it together, and like you're around so much energy, so much passion, and you just are so determined because you're like, you know what, we're all out here fighting, we're going to keep fighting. And when cars drive by, you know, after 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, they see us standing there every day, and they understand, okay, this is not over. This is not over. It wasn't a 3-day protest. It wasn't a 1-month protest. This is a long-term battle we are all in. And so protesting is a form of, you know, drawing awareness, you know, bringing groups together to strategize and mobilize, you know, really come together to uplift the cause. So there's so much that came out of protesting. I met so many people today that I'm honored to call my friends because I met them on the streets protesting. And, you know, and you also hear about a lot of the problems. You know, you're connecting with community members right there. You're basically having a town hall at a protest because everybody's speaking about what challenges are going to happen, what things are happening, and we're all like, okay, well, what can we do to address them? How can we better, you know, serve our community? So, yeah, protesting is a really amazing experience because there's so many things that come out of it, you know, and of course being out there with families that are grieving and us being able to surround them so they know they're not alone. You know, these mothers are out there, these fathers are out there who've lost their children, and they are standing out there holding a sign with their son's name or their daughter's name on it. We have to surround them. You know, we are like protesting. It's more than just, you know, standing on the street with a sign. You have to really think about it from a holistic standpoint, from an educational standpoint, from an empowerment standpoint, from a freedom fighter standpoint, you know, and it just, Yeah, it's so important. So that's just like a little bit of the experience. And of course it is dangerous, I will say. It shouldn't be taken lightly. When you're out there, you always have to be alert. You always have to be paying attention. What's happening here, what's happening there, because we've seen incidents where cars have driven into protesters. We've seen incidents where people have shown up and shot at protesters. We've seen it happen recently, you know? So you have to be alert. So every time you step out there, you have to understand that something can go down at any time, and you gotta be ready. You gotta be, you know, it's just, it's a part of it.
Yeah, you're right. It definitely is liberating. I remember the first day you were out there, me and Keely actually joined you with a few other friends as well. But it was really liberating. It was like over 2,000 people. I had my son with me too, and it was just like, it was so powerful to see that many people all passionate about Black Lives Matter, about this movement, stop killing us. It was so amazing. It's sad that it's still going on now, you know what I mean? Because people have been fighting for this for such a long time. But it was still an amazing feeling of being out there with so many people. You all feel the same way. You feel it in the air too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You really do. And you can't describe it. You just have to go out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Oh, you were saying.
I was about to. So how does it feel like when you're out there protesting and then you have people like Mr. President who is not condemning the shooter, and also the Trump, what do you call the Trump people? The people that were, because you know, like what happened in Portland, you know how you have those Trump supporters coming with paintball guns and shooting people, and then when they ask him a question, and he don't condemn them, but he's so quick to condemn protesters. So how does that feel?
It's something that I feel like we need to eliminate from our culture. It's something that it's time to get rid of, because that lack of compassion speaks to character, a lack of character. You know, it's disturbing. You know, it's honestly, it's disgusting. You wouldn't expect more from a certain individual like that, but at the same time, it just speaks to the fact that we need to eliminate it from our culture. I think that right now is the time to have compassion. When you see grieving families on the streets fighting to get justice for their sons, their daughters, you know, and that's what should be supported. Those are the people that should be lifted. Those are the voices that should be lifted, not a killer who's going out to shoot innocent protesters exercising their First Amendment. So unfortunately, it you know, just makes you realize you got to go harder, because we need that out of the picture.
Yes, I get you. But one thing I wanted to say is, like, there's people that are against Black Lives Matter, and then it'd be like, oh, all lives matter. But when you realistically look at it, if Black Lives Matter is fighting to have police reform it, and to have better training, and to have more mental health training, it's not only going to be for Black people, it's going to be for everybody. So us fighting for this doesn't mean that it's deterring from you. It means this is something that can help everybody. No one person is going to benefit from it. Everybody is. So what do you think about that?
I agree 100%. You know, you literally would be lying if you said all lives matter. So if you consider yourself, I don't know, part of a religious group that doesn't lie, every time you say all lives matter, you lying. Because we live in a society that does not treat Black lives, unfortunately, like they matter when we're talking about what's happening with police interactions. You know, you see far too often unarmed Black men and women who, you know, situations could have been de-escalated, or had it been maybe someone different who looked a little different, the situation would have went way differently. But we're seeing that there is so much, you know, corruption, and until you show us a system that values the existence of Black people the way that they deserve to be, the way that we deserve to be valued, then you're lying when you say all lives matter. The history of this country is so recent, right? All of this just happened, like, again, 65 years ago, people were getting terrorized, murdered, trying to cross a bridge in Alabama. You know, less than that even. And so it's like, how you gonna sit here and, you know, and that was not 65, 50, 55, about 55 years ago. So show us a society, because let me just say this, we know our lives matter, 100%. Black people know that. Like, we're not denying that, because that's a mental thing too. We know our lives matter. You can never say anything or tell us anything where our lives would never matter. Now the system, it doesn't treat us that way. So I'm not saying that our lives don't matter. I'm saying that the system treats us like that. And so until they fix the system, you're lying by saying that, because the system does not treat all lives like they matter. The system treats white lives like they matter, but the system does not treat black lives like they matter. So we have to fight for that to be a reality, because we all know black lives matter, and we gon' die knowing that. But we need the society, we need the systems in place, the structures to reflect that same attitude. So yeah, that's how I feel about that.
And then it's also worse, because when people be like, Black Lives Matter, they'll be like, no, Blue Lives Matter, or what about black and black crime? And I'd be like, why are you bringing out on the Blue Lives Matter part, talking about blue, like, people need to realize that when the police go home, they get to take off that shirt. We cannot take off our skin, so how are you going to compare somebody who's wearing a shirt and with somebody else's skin color? And then also, how are you going to compare black and black crime? It's like, crime is crime regardless, so why are you going to put this on the, what do you call that thing?
But I mean, when you look at it, if you want to look at it like that, white people are being killed more by white people.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, when you put
blue
this
lives
on the only black and black.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I was agreeing. But then even with the Blue Lives Matter, they chose to be cops. We didn't choose to be black. I mean, we all want to be black. We were glad we were born black. But
trade for nothing.
we wouldn't trade it for nothing. But I was just saying, it's like when they're doing that, it's diminishing the fight that we have. And it's just when they say all lives matter. If all lives matter, then why are you offended that black people are trying to fight for something? So, it's sad.
Yeah. And you just can't deny the history of this country. Like, if you don't believe anything else, let's just refer back to history, darn it. Let's just refer back to history. Like, and our parents were alive when Emmett Till was murdered. And that right there is that, that was within the last 65 years. So for this kind of stuff to be happening while some of our parents are alive, this country has so much racism and hate and terror embedded in its culture. So you can't deny that, we have to fight to be equally represented. We have to fight for liberty. We have to fight for equity, because this stuff doesn't exist. You think from 65 years ago to now, everything's just going to be okay? Like, oh, no, there's still so much work to do. So people who say all lives matter, let's refer to history. Let's look at history, because that'll tell you right there how this country has, treated black people. And so there's so much to change. And until we change it, we can't say all lives matter.
Yeah. And, a lot of time we see, and people are like, oh, I'm not racist, or racism doesn't really exist, we are just exaggerating, and, But to me, racism is like this. A little bit is showing, but it's so much down there. And it's not just what's going on within America. They're not just doing it just here. There was a video of, I think it was Bill Gates. But this have been happening to where they would leave the United States and go to like third world countries and are, giving people vaccine and doing all these things that they know would not happen here, because you are going to get a lawsuit if something happens to anyone. So why are you quick to take this out of the country, somewhere else that, you're not welcome and they're not asking you for these things? Why are you doing things like that?
Girl, yeah, that is... They're testing. Like, a lot of these tests are run in African countries.
Yes.
I know in other countries too. I don't know that per se, but they're doing it a lot in African countries. They're testing them. And
Thank God for
using them
social media now.
Right.
People are informing people over there, don't do it, because it's just not okay.
Like, it came out recently on French. I don't even know. He was from France.
Oh, the two French doctors?
Yeah, they were saying test in Africa, and I said, why? Like, the cases are less than 100 in Africa, just in the whole continent of Africa.
Yeah.
Why do you